It's the debt ceiling, and they're spending so much money so fast. At one point, I thought we only had a week left. Apparently, they have slowed down since then. We may make it to the end of May. Who knows with their insanity? But this is what this is about, the debt ceiling. So they had a little White House meeting with all the heads. So initially, we see Schumer. He's in his normal position, coward. You're going to see that McConnell is mirroring Schumer. You see how their backs are, both of them, Schumer and McConnell, are away from the couch, hunched in, holding hands. They both pretty much have the same body language. They're both hunched, both fingers are intertwined, both feet in the placement. They mirror each other. You've got Jeffries over here who's crossing his legs. It's like he's trying to bawl on this couch, or at least look like it. But he's holding on to his knee. It's a very defensive posture. We've got McCarthy. He's got his feet planted. They're together. He's trying to be small. He's holding on to his own hand. To me, it just looks like Jeffries and McCarthy are the outsiders, and Joe doesn't have a clue what's going on. And Schumer and McConnell, because they're mirroring each other, are together.
Folks, welcome. I'm sure
they even have the same kind of head movement, slow and creepy. It's like they need to be greased or something.
That my colleagues and I will be saying things to you after this is all over. But in the meantime, just wanted to welcome you, let you know what we're doing. We're not going to take any questions now. We're going to get started. We're going to solve all the world's problems. Okay?
Mr. President, can you cut it the other time? Mr. Speaker, are you willing to listen to the call?
So we're seeing a lot of portrayal from McCarthy and Jeffries both. They go from smiling to irritation, smiling, irritation. You can't really see McConnell, and Schumer's too blurred because of the quality of the video. So this is after their little meeting.
I must be tired by now. I should be going around other questions. I have a brief statement, and I'll be happy to take your questions. First, I just finished I thought, a productive meeting with the congressional leadership about the path forward to make sure America does not default, emphasize does not default on its debt for the first time in our history. I'm pleased but not surprised to hear Republican minority leader of the United States Senate saying that at our meeting that the United States is not going to default, never has, and it never will.
So he's reading his teleprompter, and that's pretty much all we're going to get from him. When he came in and he was saying it was productive, he wasn't looking at the teleprompter. He's looking down at the podium. And I know everyone, he's Dementia Joe. He's not as far gone as they try to make him out to be. So if it was as productive as he's telling you as he looks at his podium and refuses to look up, obviously that would all be opposite. He'd be giving good, strong eye contact, be like, yep, we did it.
He's absolutely correct. We agree to continue our discussions, and we're going to meet again on Friday. In the meantime, our staffs, we're going to meet today and daily between now and then, and everyone in the meeting understood the risk of default. Our economy would fall into a significant recession. It would devastate retirement accounts, increase borrowing costs. According to Moody's, nearly 8 million Americans would lose their jobs, and our international reputation would be damaged in the extreme. The last part is me, international. Moody's did not say the last part about damage in the extreme. I made clear during our meeting that default is not an option. Repeated that time and again. America is not a deadbeat nation. We pay our
Deadbeat. This is hilarious. For those of you who do not know, the alternative media, the real media, is calling Hunter a deadbeat dad. So the fact that he chose to use that word is just hilarious.
bills, and avoiding default is a basic duty of the United States Congress. In fact, they did it 3 times under my predecessor without not one time creating a crisis, rattling the markets, or undermining the unshakable trust the world has in America's commitment to paying its bills. And I'll remind you, the national debt went up 40% over the 200-year, it went up 40% under my predecessor. And that's the problem we're dealing with today. I might note parenthetically, in my first 2 years, I reduced the debt by $1.7 trillion. No president's ever done that. I told congressional leaders that I'm prepared to begin a separate discussion about my budget and the spending priorities, but not under the threat of default. As I said, I've already cut the deficit by $1.7 trillion in my first 2 years in office. And the budget just submitted to Congress cuts another $3 trillion in debt over the next 10 years, my budget that I submitted. I made it clear.
So I'm watching this and I'm seeing honesty, but I can't figure out why. The only thing I can think of is he actually believes it. If my original plan was to spend 50 trillion, and then I tell you, all right, it's going to be like 48.3 or 48.7, whatever. Oh, look, I saved 1.7 trillion. So I've actually cut the budget. I guess if you do mental acrobatics like that, that would make sense because I've seen the math and that doesn't add up.
That we can cut spending and cut the deficit. For example, my budget cuts $200 billion in spending by strengthening Medicare's power to negotiate for lower prescription drug prices. In addition, that's on top of the $160 billion in budget savings we passed last year by being able to reduce the price of insulin and other drugs for those on Medicare. And my budget cuts $30 billion.
Okay, I can't listen to much more of that. He literally only reversed and then re-reversed Trump's stuff. Ugh, let's get on to the actual thing of his 14th Amendment, where apparently we're going back to slavery.
Yes, ma'am.
Will you rule out a short-term debt limit increase? And are you concerned that Speaker McCarthy, at least publicly, will not take the threat of default off the table?
I don't know what he thinks, what McCarthy thinks, Speaker McCarthy thinks. I think he knows better. I think he knows that default would be disastrous. And I think he knows what he's passed could not possibly pass anywhere in the Congress. It's dead on arrival. And but I don't know the depths of his thinking, yes.
And what about a short-term debt limit increase? Are you ruling that out? Is that not okay for you?
I'm not ruling anything. I said I'd come back and talk. There's one thing I'm ruling out is default, and I'm not going to vote, I'm not going to pass a budget that in fact caused massive cuts. And I'll give you one example. They want to cut the legislation we passed, the IRA. Well, guess what they want to cut? They say that we're spending too much giving tax breaks to people who are moving to renewable energy. And that by getting rid of those tax breaks, we can save money. You also, one of you probably wrote the article in today's New York Times about Texas. They're making significant progress on solar and wind and renewable energy and hydrogen. And guess what? They want to cut it. You know why? I don't think it's anything to do with anything other than the oil companies don't like it.
How certain are you at this point that a default can be avoided with so little time left?
Well, I'm absolutely certain because you have the 95% of the members. I won't put in a number. An overwhelming number of the members of the Congress know it would be a disaster.
Mr. President,
So, I don't know. I want to look at that again.
default can be avoided with so little time left.
Well, I'm absolutely certain because
So we're in stress. He's not looking at the individual that asked him this question.
you have the 95% of the members. I won't put in a number. An overwhelming number of the members.
That's the only thing he's got. So he's not very confident that they can avoid a debt default. The only thing he's confident is he feels he's got the majority.
The Congress know it would be a disaster.
Mr. President, if you do, you said you're certain there won't be default. Are you willing to take unilateral action, like invoking the 14th Amendment, to make sure that doesn't happen?
Well, the question, I have been considering the 14th Amendment. And a man I have enormous respect for, Larry Tribe, who advised me for a long time.
All right, now the 14th Amendment. And he's very confident in this because he's giving that good eye contact. Previous question, he didn't want to. And so I will read you the section because I can't seem to have anyone else read it. But it's section 4 of the 14th Amendment. Bear with me. The validity of the public debt of the United States authorized by law, including debts inquired or for payment of pensions and bounties for services in suppressing insurrection or rebellion, shall not be questioned. But neither the United States nor any state shall assume or pay any debt or obligation inquired in aid of insurrection or rebellion against the United States, or any claim for the loss of emancipation of any slave, but all such debts, obligations, and claims shall be held illegal and void. It's also a good idea to understand the context of the 14th Amendment was written with the 13th Amendment after the Civil War of fighting slavery. So I guess if they claim it's insurrection, whatever it is, you didn't pay your speeding ticket, it's insurrection. Those individuals that are paid to enforce that kind of nonsense, if you look at it from that perspective, can be enforced via the 14th Amendment. You're fighting insurrection. You see how that goes?
If you like it, please share and subscribe. Thanks for watching.